I just spent $1 million recreating 8 of the most insane birds that ever existed. And in this video, you're gonna see every single one of them. We're talking about birds taller than a basketball hoop, birds so heavy they shook the ground when they walked, and even a bird with a wingspan wider than a jet. These aren't your average pigeons. These are prehistoric monsters that ruled the skies and the land for millions of years. And today, we're bringing them back to life in hyper-realistic 3D. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you what it would be like to stand next to these incredible creatures. We built life-size models, we simulated their environments, and we even calculated how much they would eat in a single day. And trust me, it's a lot. Let's get into it. Alright, first up, we have one of the tallest birds to ever walk the earth, the moa. Imagine a bird standing right here next to me. It would be 12 feet tall. That's literally 2 of me stacked on top of each other. This thing was an absolute unit, a feathered skyscraper from New Zealand. We didn't just guess its size, we used fossil records and scientific data to recreate it. Look at this thing. It's like an ostrich that went to the gym for 1,000 years. The moa wasn't just tall, it was heavy too. We're talking about a bird that could weigh up to 500 pounds. That's like having 3 full-grown adults combined into one bird. They had these massive, powerful legs, not for flying, because they were completely wingless, but for stomping through the forests of ancient New Zealand. They were the dominant herbivores, acting like deer do today, acting like cattle do today. One of the craziest things, no natural predators for millions of years. New Zealand was a paradise. It allowed them to evolve into gentle giants. They just needed to be big enough to reach the best leaves on the trees. So how did this giant die out? Humans. Within a couple hundred years, all 9 species were gone. If you thought the moa was big, get ready for this. Our next bird is the elephant bird from Madagascar. It wasn't the tallest, but it was the heaviest bird of all time. We're talking about a creature that could weigh up to 1,500 pounds. That's more than a grand piano. That's more than a polar bear. This thing was less of a bird and more of a feathered tank. The elephant bird, or Epyornis, stood around 10 feet tall. It was 3 times heavier. Like the moa, it was completely flightless. It was built for a life of plodding through the forests and grasslands of ancient Madagascar. The name elephant bird is thought to have come from the tales of Marco Polo. The legend stuck. The elephant bird laid the largest eggs of any known animal, even dinosaurs. Over a foot long and could hold over 2 gallons of liquid. That's the equivalent of 180 chicken eggs. Evidence for humans stealing and eating giant eggs is overwhelming. It's believed relentless egg poaching drove their extinction. Standing next to this 1,500-pound creature, you feel incredibly small. A titan that shook the ground with every step. Okay, this next one is my personal favorite because its nickname is just so epic. Meet Dromornis, the demon duck of doom. This Australian giant lived millions of years ago. It looks like a duck that was hit with a massive dose of gamma radiation. It stood nearly 10 feet tall and weighed over 1,000 pounds. Dromornis belonged to the Mihirungs family. Scientists link it more closely to modern-day ducks and geese, rather than to emus or ostriches. So yes, technically a giant killer duck. It had a massive, powerful beak. It's a bone-crushing weapon. Scientists debated, was it a gentle herbivore or a terrifying carnivore? Most recent studies say likely plant eater, but maybe it supplemented its diet sometimes. We've animated it cracking open giant, tough fruits. These birds roamed subtropical open woodlands of Australia from about 8 million to 30,000 years ago. Imagine walking the Australian outback and seeing a flock of 1,000-pound ducks staring back. Its extinction ties to long-term climate change in Australia. The birds couldn't adapt fast enough to changing food sources. It's possible humans hunted them, adding pressure to struggling populations, but the main driver seems to be climate. Seeing our Dromornis recreation is just wild. It perfectly earns its nickname, the Demon Duck of Doom, part goose, part nightmare. If you thought the demon duck was the only giant waterfowl on our list, think again. Now we're traveling to ancient Europe to meet Garganornis, or, as I like to call it, the Giga goose. This absolute beast lived on what is now the Gargano Peninsula in Italy during the late Miocene, about 6 million years ago. And when I say giant, I mean it. This flightless goose weighed up to 50 pounds, 3 times heavier than the largest living goose today. It had short, powerful wings, but they weren't for flying. Instead, scientists think it used them for combat. The wrist bones even had a knob-like structure. It lived on an island isolated from mainland Europe. On islands, weird things happen with evolution. With no large land predators around, this goose could afford to lose flight and grow huge. It became the top herbivore on the island, a role usually filled by deer or antelope on the mainland. While there were no big cats or wolves, the island did have its own predators, like a giant barn owl, which would have been a threat to the younger, smaller geese. The fighting wings make so much sense in this context. Imagine seeing two 50-pound geese getting into a territorial dispute, smacking each other with their bony wing clubs. Sea levels dropped, and the Gargano island connected to the Italian mainland. Suddenly, the Giga goose had to compete with animals it had never encountered before, and it was facing predators it had no defense against. The new arrivals outcompeted the goose for food, and likely hunted it to extinction, a powerful ruler of its small world, ultimately no match for changes brought by the outside. The Giga goose was epic while it lasted. It's time to talk about the rock star of extinct birds, the one everyone has heard of, the dodo. And right away I want to clear something up. We always see the dodo portrayed as this fat, clumsy, stupid bird. But that's probably not accurate. Our recreation is based on modern scientific understanding, and it shows a bird that was much more athletic and resourceful than the cartoons would have you believe. The dodo lived on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Like the other island birds we've seen, it was flightless and had no natural predators. It grew to be about 3 feet tall and weighed around 30 to 40 pounds. It had a large, hooked beak, strong legs, and a grayish-blue plumage. It wasn't a bumbling idiot. It was a bird perfectly evolved for its specific, peaceful environment, a specialized seed disperser. The dodo wasn't fat. It likely fattened up seasonally, but for most of the year, it would have been much leaner. Then, in 1598, everything changed. Here was a big, flightless bird that had never seen a human before and had no fear. They were incredibly easy to catch, but it wasn't just the sailors hunting them. The sailors brought other animals with them: pigs, dogs, cats, rats. These invasive species were devastating for the dodo. The rats and pigs destroyed the next generation of dodos before they could even hatch. In less than 100 years after humans first arrived, the dodo was completely extinct. The last confirmed sighting was in 1662. Standing here with our realistic dodo, it's a tragic sight. This isn't a goofy cartoon character, it's a unique and interesting bird that we drove to extinction through our own carelessness. A cautionary tale. Get ready, because this next bird is pure nightmare fuel. We've seen giant herbivores, omnivores, but now it's time for a true apex predator. Meet the Phorusrhacidae, the terror bird. These were the dominant predators of South America for nearly 60 million years. There were many species of terror bird, but we've recreated one of the biggest, Kelenken. It stood up to 10 feet tall. Kelenken had the largest skull of any known bird, over 2 feet long, a massive hooked beak. Fossil leg structure suggests they were incredible runners, capable of over 30 miles per hour, a giant axe for a face running at you. Scientists think they ran prey down, then struck downwards with that hooked beak, like being hit with a pickaxe. Then the hook ripped the meal apart. But about 3 million years ago, the Isthmus of Panama formed. New predators moved south: saber-toothed cats, short-faced bears. Terror birds faced competition for the first time. They had to compete with large, intelligent placental mammals. Slowly, the terror birds were outcompeted. Their reign was over. The last died out around 1.8 million years ago. Looking at our recreation, it's hard to imagine anything taking it down. But environmental change and new competition ended it. The terror bird was a true monster, the undisputed king of its time. Okay, this next one is just plain weird. We're heading back to the skies to look at Pelagornis, a group of birds known as the bony-toothed birds. And yes, you heard that right. These birds had what looked like a full set of sharp, pointy teeth. But here's the twist. They weren't real teeth. They were bony projections growing out of their jawbones, covered in the same keratin material as their beaks. Close up on those pseudo-teeth, sharp and jagged. They weren't used for chewing, but for snagging slippery prey like fish, squid. As Pelagornis flew low, it could dip its beak in, and those serrated edges acted like a perfect fish trap. Pelagornis was one of the largest flying birds of all time. Pelagornis sandersi had a wingspan of up to 24 feet, more than twice the wandering albatross, wider than 2 basketball hoops end to end. A global phenomenon. fossils found on every single continent, including Antarctica. First appeared after the dinosaurs and survived over 50 million years. A huge evolutionary success story. During the Pliocene about 3 million years ago, global cooling led to ice ages. That changed ocean currents and wind patterns, the very things they relied on. After 50 million years, the world changed in a way they couldn't adapt to. The last bony-toothed birds vanished from the record about 2.5 million years ago, ending an incredible reign. We've saved the biggest for last. If you thought Pelagornis was huge, you haven't seen anything yet. Meet Argentavis magnificens, the magnificent Argentine bird. This was the largest flying bird to ever exist. Our life-sized recreation is breathtaking. Wingspan up to 23 feet, similar to Pelagornis, but the sheer bulk set it apart. Weight, around 150 pounds. That's like a full-grown human, with wings. Imagine that getting airborne. It's an engineering marvel, the B-52 bomber of birds. Likely used slopes and headwinds to launch, running downhill into the wind. Once aloft, it was a master soarer. Like a condor, it rode thermal updrafts to spiral high, then glided enormous distances over the plains. Once thought to be a giant eagle-style predator, but more likely a colossal scavenger, like a vulture. With its size, it could intimidate other predators away from a kill. Extinction is a mystery, likely tied to climate change and the Great American Biotic Interchange. Large mammals Argentavis relied on for carrion died out. Without its food source, it couldn't survive. The end of the age of flying giants. And there you have it. 8 of the most incredible birds to ever exist, brought back to life. From the 12-foot-tall moa to the 150-pound Argentavis, these creatures were true giants that pushed the limits of what we think a bird can be. They were real animals. Recreating them like this has been one of the craziest projects we've ever done. Seeing these birds, even as digital recreations, makes their extinction feel so much more real. So many of these giants were wiped out because of us. It's a powerful and humbling reminder of the impact we have on the world around us. But their stories also show the incredible power of evolution. Who knows what other amazing creatures are waiting to be discovered in the fossil record? If you enjoyed seeing these prehistoric giants, hit that subscribe button because we are just getting started. We have so many more insane ideas and crazy recreations planned. Every single subscription helps us do bigger and better projects like this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.